Welcome everyone to Living with the Times. This week's Torah portion is Tazria, and although it deals almost a whole portion with the disease called Tzaraat, the beginning passage is about a different subject. And it begins by saying, when a woman conceives and gives birth to a male child, she should wait 7 days, and on the 8th day is circumcision. This is where the Torah mentions circumcision again. We know that the first circumcision was done by Abraham, but here it's a mitzvah for the whole Jewish people. We're retold the idea of circumcision. So again, the first of the parsha begins when a woman conceives and gives birth to a male child. In Hebrew, the word for conceives is Tazria, but Tazria actually means to give seed. From the word zera, zera means seed. And so the sages in the Talmud say an amazing thing. They say in intimate marital relations, if the woman is aroused first, comes to orgasm first, she will give birth to a male. And if the man is aroused first and comes to orgasm, then they'll give birth to a girl. So there's much discussion. Are we being told a physiological truth here that this will work every time? Or is there something deeper going on here? And so in Judaism, in Kabbalah and Chassidut, there is a concept called arousal from above and arousal from below. And this is usually connected to the arousal from above is considered from God, and the arousal from below is coming from an individual. And the question is, in life, when we make decisions, when we try to accomplish, when we make our efforts, is the arousal coming from above or is the arousal coming from below? And so we're told that in general, we should always attempt to have the arousal come from below. And even though in a somewhat secretive, mysterious way, many times when the arousal comes from below, meaning from us, it's coming from a hidden arousal above that only God knows. But other times we're very, very aware. Let's say we're just feeling down, lack of inspiration, lack of incentive, and all of a sudden new energy, as it were, enters into us, just kind of out of the blue. So that is an example of we're getting an arousal from above. So here, when we're talking about when a woman conceives and gives birth to a male child, here the idea is that the arousal is coming from below, and that will give birth to a male. Now here, when we talk in Kabbalah, the Zohar very much is based on masculine and feminine energy. But when it talks about masculine and feminine energy, sometimes it's relating to males and females, but in most cases, it's talking about energy that is way beyond bodies. There's a certain masculine energy in the world and a feminine energy, a giving and a receiving. And so that's why, especially in a world of gender, language, cultural battles, we refer to God as He. Now we know throughout our tradition that God has no gender, and there is, in certain cases or in certain context, where God is referred to in the masculine type of context, and sometimes, like the Shekhinah, is the feminine aspect of God. And so, in general, though, God is the giver, He's the creator, and all human beings, whether male or female, are considered feminine, the receivers. And so when we come to the arousal from above and the arousal from below, we're talking about giving and receiving. And that's why, paradoxically, for example, when a woman is nursing her baby, she is, in a sense, in a masculine role, even though we think of it as the epitome of a feminine role of nursing her baby. And yet, when we're talking about pure energy, she is in the role now as a giver. So when we understand that, and especially because every male has a feminine aspect and every female has a male aspect. This goes back to the first human being, Adam. Adam was created male and female. And then they were separated, this unified being called Adam, which was both male and female, but it was in one body. And then the Torah explains how the female feminine aspect was separated from the male, and now you had gender, you had males and females. But because in our root we were one, that's why every man has a feminine aspect and every female has a male aspect. And so the idea of giving and receiving, in many cases, women are the givers and men are the receivers. So it's way beyond male and female bodies. So this is all based on this explanation of the sages about arousal from above and arousal from below. When we apply this to redemption, so God says to the prophet, talking about when Mashiach will come, and it says, Be'ita achashena, in its time I will hasten it. And everyone asks, well, the Gemara itself asks, isn't that contradictory? Either it's in its time or it will be hastened. And the Gemara answers its own rhetorical question and says that if the Jewish people merit, it will be hastened. And if they don't merit, it will come in its time. In other words, it's going to come. The redemption of the world will come. There will be a messianic era. The only question is, where is the arousal going to come from? If the arousal comes from below, meaning that we merit, then we're told it can be quickened. And we're also told in two different prophets, one describes Mashiach coming from the clouds in the sky, meaning in a miraculous way. And the other explanation is the Mashiach will come lowly, riding on a donkey. And this represents the idea of redemption coming, but it will come in a more natural way. And so in all of history, this dynamic of arousal from above and arousal from below it plays its part from generation to generation, but also in our own lives, almost on a daily level, we exchange roles as givers and receivers. And they're both positive. It's not like one is good and one isn't. Giving is wonderful and receiving is wonderful. And so here we have this concept learned from the simple statement that when a woman conceives and gives birth to a male child. And so may we merit, may we arouse ourselves from below to bring the redemption to the world, to bring God's light into the world. May we experience that soon and very quickly.